House Bill 2127 that we've talked about before is a troubling bill, one of the troubling bills. And the reason why this bill is important to Houston is it's a radical departure from how the legislature has addressed preemption. Rather than this kind of like a surgical approach, this bill attempts to preempt entire areas, fields. And the practical impact is turning home rule cities like Houston and over 300 other cities into general law cities, only allowing actions on what the legislature says you can do. So if the legislature doesn't expressly give you permission, cities cannot do it. So in effect, it just clips the ability of city councils to operate on behalf of their constituents. And in the past several years, Texas has experienced an unprecedented expansion of state power over municipalities. So I'm going to encourage you to take a look at 2127. It strikes at matters not even considered controversial, such as boarding homes. It would take us out of that. Worse, the threat of legal action against cities it would freeze you if you do something not expressly allowed. So let me encourage council members. Austin is right down the street. 45-minute flight, 2.5-hour road trip, and we've got the team up there, Bill Kelly and his team. But let me encourage city council members to also go to Austin and talk with your legislators. They need to hear from you on both sides, yeah. Because I don't care where you stand politically. If you're sitting in these seats, you want to be able to make decisions. Otherwise, you'll have to talk to your legislators before you act. Yes. So let me encourage you to go to Austin. Then there's Senate Bill 1015. Now, this is a bill being pushed by CenterPoint. And it would silence the voices of homeowners and small businesses and what they ultimately pay on the electricity service in Houston and across the state. For example, for decades, cities, for example, have been the overseers on your utility bills. Every, CenterPoints and others can do their rate cases. And then the city, for example, will review those rate cases, Tina Pius and her team. And then, just like on insurance and any other matters, and they make an assessment as to whether or not they think the request is too much. And then the action comes before us, and then we vote to deny pending the review, okay? And we have spent about $500,000 in legal fees in our last 4 rate hearings. We have saved customers, homeowners, small businesses, almost $80 million in charges. So $500,000 we've spent in legal. The savings on people's electricity bill has been $80 million. Now what companies like CenterPoint are saying, and we get reimbursed. Okay, we get reimbursed for our legal fees. That is a part of the construct, the way it's set up. Because cities become it's like the reviewer of these electricity bills. What CenterPoint and other companies are seeking to do is to deny the city's reimbursement, which means we are taken out of the oversight business. And so when they do their rate cases, the only people who are going to be taking a look at it, for example, would be the legislators, to the extent they do it at all. This has been the way it has been done for years. When I was a legislator for 27 years, the cities would come to us, they would review, and essentially say, the request is too high. You need to bring it down. And you go into these contested rate cases, and the cities would be reimbursed for their legal expenses. And so now what the company is seeking to do is to prevent the cities from being reimbursed. Well, if you're not reimbursed, we're dealing with all these other costs, okay? It is a very bad deal. And quite frankly, I would encourage and ask Centerpoint to stand down on Senate Bill 1015. And I would ask Centerpoint to say to them, Senate Bill 1015 is not in the best interest of this city or any other city where there are not municipal utilities like Austin and San Antonio. And I would ask them to pull this bill down. And let me just say this too. From Winter Storm Uri and all of those costs are being passed down to the cities and the end users. What does that mean? Remember, we negotiated our utility contract over 6-7 years, for example, with NRG. What Will Jones from Finance is saying is that with all of those costs being passed down just to the city, our added costs on a contract that we entered into for 7 years is $13 million more. Now that's to the city. Every utility payer is their electricity bills are going up. So the cost simply were passed, what the legislature did, they didn't eat any of it. They didn't say to the utilities, you eat the cost. They have allowed them to pass it all the way through to the end users. So for the city of Houston, we look at the budget in a month or so, we have to factor in $13 million more. And for homeowners on your electricity bills, you will see the cost going up. That is why Senate Bill 1015 becomes even more dangerous, because you're subjecting homeowners, people who pay, more if the cities are not allowed to exercise oversight on behalf of our constituents. So I would ask Centerpoint to pull down Senate Bill 1015. It should not go forward. Yeah. Senate Bill 736. Let me say Senate Bill 736. We've talked about it before. This is a bill being carried by Senator John Whitmire. And this bill requires binding arbitration for firefighters. This is also a bad bill. City council members should determine what their employees are paid. And we take in a lot of factors when we make those determinations. It should not be a situation where a third party outside of the city of Houston, who has no idea of what our budgetary constraints are decide what to pay. So Senate Bill 736, binding arbitration, will impact city council members, city councils for years to come, and it doesn't even create positive relationships. And it's contrary to how we handle police and municipal workers. And Senate Bill 736 should also be rejected. So there are just a number of bills that are out there. Let me encourage you. You can visit with Bill Kelly if you want to go to Austin. If you need any guidance, direction, Bill Kelly and his team will be more than happy to escort you, help you to, set up meetings for you, talk with legislators, and just let them know how you feel. Because sometimes legislators, they don't know. They just don't know. So please do that.